Hey guys, join me as I dive deep into this true crime story and try to uncover what really happened. Before I start, did you know that every 90 seconds a person goes missing in USA? But what if one day someone vanishes into thin air, leaving behind only unanswered questions? This is the story of a girl whose childhood was relatively normal, yet she felt it wasn't. This is the story of Carranza, who was born in Mexico. Her father was a writer, but he was very strict with his children, believing that they should focus only on their studies and not waste time with friends. His only advice to them was to study hard and build a successful future. That is why he was very strict by nature. He didn't want his children to end up doing wrong things later in life. He wanted them to have a good future and be successful, which is why his children often didn't like his strictness. Over time, Carranza's father moved from Mexico to Spain, where he found a very good job and decided to settle down. Now Carranza continued her education there. She was an excellent student, always at the top of her class throughout school. Eventually, she finished school and was ready for college. However, her father continued to be very strict, which the children didn't like. He didn't allow them to meet friends too often, only at school or college, with no visits outside or at home. He didn't want them to waste any time. He wanted them to focus on studies and become good human beings, and this idea didn't sit well with Carranza at all. In fact, she felt it was terrible. She felt that her father wasn't giving her even a moment to breathe, just pushing her to study, study, study. This notion was ingrained in her mind that her father was torturing her, not allowing her to spend time with friends, live her own life, and that all he wanted from her was to keep studying. Now she had reached college, and coincidentally, she fell in love with a guy there. She always had a deep affection for children and dreamed of having a big family one day. She was grown up now, an adult in college, and she had a boyfriend. But she was afraid that if her family, especially her father, found out about her boyfriend, it would be disastrous. They would strongly oppose it, making her life miserable. So out of fear of her father, she quickly got engaged to her boyfriend. When they got engaged, no one knew about it. They were still studying in college, and after some time, they broke up. Carranza's boyfriend left her, and this upset her so much that the thought of him leaving stuck in her mind. She felt betrayed by him, and her anger turned into hatred toward him. She began thinking that she would kill him. Time passed, and she kept thinking about how to harm him. Then one day she decided to tamper with his car's brakes. She sabotaged the brakes, hoping that he would drive the car, the brakes would fail, he'd get into an accident, and he would die. Coincidentally, when her ex-boyfriend sat in the car, he realized the brakes weren't working and managed not to drive it. When she found out, she was very angry and frustrated that she couldn't take his life. Disappointed, she thought, forget all of this. This country itself is worthless. She started thinking of leaving the country. Without telling her parents, she moved from Spain to Germany. There she started doing small jobs to make ends meet, working in different households, and eventually began working at an ice cream parlor. Now she started working at an ice cream parlor, and there she met a man named Hogar. He didn't work there, but he would come by to see Carranza. She had no friends in Germany, so gradually they began to like each other, and eventually they fell in love. Carranza started to feel that Hogar was a good person and saw no harm in marrying him. Although Hogar was 13 to 14 years older than her, she married him. After a while, they shared a very good relationship and lived together happily. However, conflicts started arising, and both thought that leaving Germany might improve their home environment. So they left Germany and moved to Austria, hoping they could start fresh and settle there. Once in Austria, she told her husband that they should invest their savings in opening an ice cream parlor. They used all their savings and opened the shop, which began doing well, and their life seemed to settle. The ice cream parlor was running smoothly, and everything was going okay. However, Carranza still felt unfulfilled. Even after all this time, she hadn't found her peace because she wanted to become a mother but was not getting pregnant. After marriage, she continued her work, but disagreements with her husband started happening frequently. During these tensions, another man named Manfred Hinterberger entered Carranza's life, and they developed feelings for each other. They spent time together, growing closer as their relationship advanced. However, after some time, Carranza's husband discovered her affair with Manfred. When Holgar found out about this, he told Carranza that if she wasn't happy with him, they should get a divorce. So they both divorced each other, and their divorce was finalized. However, they continued to live together in the same house because the ice cream parlor they had opened was built with both of their savings and was jointly owned. Because of this shared asset, they stayed together, but they still had constant arguments. Even after their divorce, they fought a lot. Holger would blame Carranza, saying that the parlor wasn't doing well because of her. Carranza, on the other hand, was happy with her new boyfriend and spent time working and enjoying life with him. In 2008, the arguments between Carranza and Holgar escalated significantly. Holgar was fond of shooting and owned a licensed gun. One day at the house, another intense argument broke out between them. In a fit of rage, Carranza grabbed the gun and shot Holgar 3 times, killing him instantly. Shocked by what she had done, she panicked, realizing that she had taken a life. Unsure of what to do, she left the body in the room for the night, as no one visited the place. The next morning, she went to the market, bought plastic bags, some tools and knives, and began dismembering the body. She placed the body parts in separate bags, then returned to the market, purchased concrete mix, and began filling the bathtub with it. She put the body parts in the bathtub and sealed the gap with concrete paste. She thought that if someone found out, it would be terrible. Her boyfriend, who had a business involving ice cream freezers, had extra freezers lying in the basement of their house. Since Carranza also had an ice cream parlor, she had access to these freezers. Carranza put the body inside one of the freezers, poured concrete over it, and it became so solid that it turned to stone. The next day, she called 2 workers to her house. They took the bathtub and placed it in a large freezer. This went on for quite some time, and Carranza moved on with her life, with no one to stop her, scold her, or fight with her anymore. She started spending her life happily with her boyfriend. To keep her new boyfriend close, Carranza did everything to ensure he would stay with her. She even underwent extensive surgeries, including facial surgery. But one day, Carranza found out that her new boyfriend had many other girlfriends. When Carranza learned about this, she felt deeply betrayed and said he was deceiving her. So in 2008, just 3 months after killing her husband, she shot her boyfriend while he was asleep, firing 3 bullets and killing him as well. She followed the same process, covering the pieces in concrete paste and storing them until they hardened. Then she called 2 workers who lifted the hardened concrete pieces and stored them in the freezer in the basement. The basement was a large one where others had also stored some belongings. It wasn't Carranza's basement alone. After placing her boyfriend's body there, she locked up the basement. Then after a short period, the fourth man entered Carranza's life. His name was Ronald. Carranza met him, they became friends, fell in love, and eventually Carranza married him. After this marriage, Carranza found the greatest joy of her life. She became pregnant. She said that now she would live her life well, that she wouldn't do any bad deeds, and that if no one found out about the 2 murders she had committed earlier, she would never do something like that again. One day there was an issue with the water pipe at the ice cream parlor next door. The pipe ran through the basement where the ice cream freezers were located. Above the basement was the ice cream parlor, and above that was Carranza's house. The plumber arrived to check the problem and saw that the basement was locked, which surprised him, as it was unusual to see it locked. Carranza gave him the key and the plumber went inside. While working, he suddenly noticed an ice cream freezer nearby. Thinking there must be ice cream inside, he opened it to get some. But as soon as he opened the freezer, he saw that something frozen inside looked like a human body. Shocked, he ran away, shouting, and went to the man who had asked him to work on the pipe. The plumber told him what he saw. Other people went to the basement, looked inside the freezer, and found parts of a human body. Realizing something was wrong, they immediately informed the police. When the police arrived, they found 2 human bodies inside the freezer and removed them. They investigated the owner of the freezer, and people told them that both freezers belonged to Carranza. The police then arrested Carranza. Later, they learned that Carranza's ex-husband was missing and that his friends were looking for him. Another man who used to be with Carranza was also missing, with his family still searching for him. The police eventually identified the remains as belonging to those 2 missing people. When questioned, Carranza confessed to committing both murders. A case was filed against her, and in 2010, the court sentenced her to life imprisonment. Initially, the court had considered the death penalty, but due to Carranza's poor mental health and the fact that she was pregnant at the time, she was given life imprisonment instead. After Carranza was imprisoned, she gave birth to a son who was handed over to her husband, Ronald, by the police. Carranza raised no objections and allowed her son to be with his father. So this was today's story. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. We hope you enjoyed the content and found it valuable.